Today, we're going to analyze a very interesting episode of the amazing world of Gumball that talks about so-called social parasites, those who disguise themselves as friends only to use others around them, gaining advantages and benefiting in various ways. This episode also delves into people who struggle greatly with forming friendships and acting naturally in social situations that should be completely normal. However, these situations often end up becoming extremely awkward due to this difficulty, and the constant desperation for such interactions can have the opposite effect, pushing people away. The episode begins with Gumball and Darwin reading Ani's diary, through which they discover that, apparently, there's a girl at school who acts as a social parasite towards their sister. She takes over Ani's science project, makes Anis carry her backpack, eats her lunch, and, in short, takes advantage of her whenever possible. They then agree that they need to do something about it, and discuss how, despite their sister being extremely sarcastic and intelligent, she is also very insecure and awkward when it comes to interacting with others and making new friends. This is a trait of the character that is indeed portrayed in other moments of the show. Even though she is the smartest and most sensible among the family, Anis has no idea how to act socially in a natural way that would allow her to win people over and make them genuinely like her and consider her a friend. Due to her lack of experience with friendships and social interactions, she ends up with a significant block in this area, making things awkward and causing others to feel embarrassed and avoid her. Undoubtedly, this is a source of great sadness and insecurity for the character, who thought she was successfully getting closer and forming some kind of real bond. However, in reality, this supposed closeness only existed in her own mind. Thus, it's very easy to believe that there's a girl at school with bad intentions who is taking advantage of this weakness in their sister, as, honestly, it wasn't very hard to do once this vulnerability was noticed. There are many people out there who see others' weaknesses as opportunities to gain something for themselves, and nothing more. These people won't hesitate to use you for their own benefit. Gumball and Darwin then go to the school to confront the opportunistic parasite, but as soon as they arrive and observe the situation, it becomes clear that the girl isn't actually a parasite. Instead, she's feeling extremely uncomfortable and pressured by the strange and forced way Anis is behaving to reassure herself that the two of them are best friends, which, obviously, wasn't true at that point. This makes Anis' internal insecurity very visible. Anis believes that the best way to win Jodie's friendship is by buying things and trying to please her at all times to keep her close. Of course, this is a huge mistake, as if Jodie really chose to stay around, it would surely be only for what Anis provided her, and not for Anis herself. Therefore, she would distance herself once those benefits were cut off. Gumball and Darwin remain convinced that Jodie is a parasite and continue trying to do things to harm her and drive her away from Anis. However, when they realize that none of these things are working, they decide to have a conversation with their sister about the whole situation. Yet, she completely refuses to listen to what the two of them are pointing out and insists that Gumball shouldn't interfere and ruin her friendship. She truly believed she was doing things the right way and that this was how you made friends. As a result, she let all that excitement and emotion prevent her from listening to her brother, who obviously only wanted the best for her. Oh, and in this scene, we also have a fantastic reference to The Last of Us, which doesn't add anything to this video, but is still pretty cool. I couldn't not mention it. Anis keeps pushing things, and the two of them keep trying to ruin Jodie's life to get her away from their sister. But things start getting weirder and weirder when the two begin behaving like a single person, finishing each other's sentences and even making identical movements at the same time. This starts making the term parasite feel almost literal. Gumball then humiliates Jodie over the phone to try to get rid of her once and for all, but when she starts crying, he realizes he went too far and approaches to apologize. When we get really close, we discover that the two have sort of merged and turned into this extremely bizarre thing. When they finally manage to take her, or rather them, to the school nurse, we end up finding out that the real parasite was Anis, not Jodie. All Jodie wanted from the beginning was to borrow a pen, but Anis got so attached to that brief interaction that she ended up forcing a friendship that didn't exist, following Jodie everywhere and literally clinging to her. And obviously, all this insistence on Anis' part wasn't helping to bring Jodie closer to her. It was actually pushing her away and creating a bad feeling between them. After all, no one likes being around someone who doesn't respect boundaries and invades your personal space as if it doesn't matter, immediately placing themselves in the role of a close friend when, in reality, they shouldn't be in that position. This is something gradual and reciprocal that happens naturally. Authentic connections between humans take a lot of time, involving trust, respect, consideration, affection, and so on. None of this is built overnight, and when it's obvious that someone is trying to force these things when they clearly don't exist, it's uncomfortable, weird, and will most likely result in rejection. Just like at the end of this episode, where Jody runs away from Anais. Even though Anais apologized, and even though Anais' behavior was completely wrong, it's understandable why she acted that way. She had no idea how any of this worked and felt very insecure, but at least she was able to learn from this experience.